So let's talk about some famous killers in the media who have had relationships with women, um, supposedly normal women while they're in jail. Do you
Right.
think of any
Some normal,
examples?
yeah. You mean, well, the top of my list was Lyle and Erik Menendez, So I guess it's let me just write, I wrote it down here. Lyle was married to this one woman, Anna Erickson, and then she found out that he was corresponding with another. So they divorced and he married this other woman, Rebecca Sneed. But it's just like, wow, he's even, cheating on his wife, even though
That
he's
is
a killer.
funny.
Well, cheating,
Because yeah, these women marry these men in jail thinking, well, he can't cheat on me, and then she
right.
finds out, well, he is.
Oh, yeah, at least emotionally, I guess, whatever.
Yeah.
And then his brother, Eric, is still with the one Tammy Sakoman, I guess her name is, but
Recommend.
Sakaman, yeah. So it's like, gosh, I mean, it's those guys, they were so cruel and just did the most heinous things to their parents. And yet, and one of them is like, gosh, she's like they're both very educated and they had good jobs. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't like they,
Well, I read up on them too. And a little side note. So a long time ago, there's been several movies made about these guys. My friend Damien Chapa
oh, yeah, yeah,
played
yeah.
Lyle in a movie. So, I watched the
Oh,
movie
okay.
supporting
Wait,
Damien.
he did a movie about Lyle? Is that what you said?
He played Lyle in a movie.
Oh, okay.
If you like our videos, go ahead and click on like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
Oh, okay.
A TV movie, or I don't know where it was aired, but
Mm-hmm.
years ago. But anyway, he played Lyle
Okay.
in the movie. So I watched the whole movie because of Damien and wanting to support him, and then of course I'm fascinated with the story.
Sure.
So when I looked it up, yeah, I guess Lyle has been with his wife for 17
Yeah.
years, and
They're
she
still
is now a
together.
defense attorney.
Oh,
And
okay.
Erik has been with his wife for 20 years.
Wow.
So, and they say that they have a, whatever kind of a spiritual connection, and they don't have conjugal visits or anything, but they feel like they have a good friendship. And who was the one, Leslie Abramson, that was
Defending them, right?
represented Erik? I think she
Yeah.
represented
Oh, okay.
Erik. And she was adamant that he was innocent and he'd been molested. And you know, if all that is true, that's horrible. And those parents should have been punished for it. But you don't get to take the matter in your own hands and kill them.
Sure. Right.
It's just still wrong. I just still can't see that a woman would be that forgiving
Yeah.
of
You
them.
you leave your you move away, or you just don't have any connection with them, but you don't kill them,
And I hate to judge, because that could have been such a tormented way to live that it maybe did make them both snap. And so I don't want to judge, but I just couldn't forgive something like that. If you're able
Right.
to do that to someone, I just don't
And
think
I believe,
forgivable.
as I recall, they conveniently, got a lot of money rather quickly and they were spending it left and right, so it was just, they didn't know
Yeah,
how to, they weren't very suave about it. Let's just put it that way.
yeah, yeah. So, but that was an odd one, in that they're now married.
Yeah.
All very strange.
Yeah, and the other one that was always fascinating to me was Phil Spector. Phil Spector, who just died
Yeah.
this year, actually. But side note, which is kind of sad, he killed Lana Clarkson, and my friend Joan, Joan, she worked on a commercial with her, like right before she died, and
Mm.
everybody said like how nice she was, and she was so pretty, and
Mhm.
she had a lot of friends, and it was just so sad that she had to go to his house that night, thinking
Yeah. Yeah.
God knows what. But anyway, he ended up marrying this Rachel Marie Short, and I think they were married, when he died, and she lived in his mansion. I think she even wrote a song about him or something. It was like, I saw
So
him when he was out on bail at a restaurant, and he didn't have his wig on. It was just like, wow, scary. And he was with a younger, pretty woman. I'm thinking, women, get a grip. It's like, if
yeah.
you know, Oh my God.
That's another topic for another
Right.
day. But yeah, women that think they're going to get ahead just by hanging around these whatever powerful men.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's just kind of that's another. Um,
Topic. Yeah.
they don't deserve to be killed by any means or be treated badly, but still.
Bad choices for them.
Yeah, yeah.
So who's next on your list?
Well, okay, did you ever see the movie, the Netflix I guess series or whatever, the Ted Bundy tapes?
Yes, I did actually.
That was so haunting. That was
Right.
it took me so long, days and days to shake it. Like it just was haunting me. And that one woman who she had known him, she had worked with him before. And then when he was accused of all these rapes and murders and he was on trial,
Oh yeah, the
she
one that had the
moved.
daughter. The one that had the daughter.
Yeah, she moved to Florida and
Mhm.
married him, and then they
Mhm.
had supposedly had a daughter. But then finally, something stirred her to realize that it was all true.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then she didn't want anything to do with him after that. So the poor woman because she truly believed he was innocent. She had known him. It's like you work with some guy, you know him as a friend. You're like, there is no way this guy would kill someone. I
Mhm.
know
Mhm.
him.
Mhm.
You have a friend. And then so she decided she was going to defend him and stand
Mhm.
by his side. And
Mhm.
then she came to the realization of, uh-oh, I think he did this. So
Right.
that would be an awful thing to have had a child with him. And
Well, I don't think they had it. Did they have a child? I thought that was her child was it his
no,
child?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Well,
know that.
it was not proven and she doesn't talk about it, but
Mm.
supposedly according to these tapes and everything, she had the child while she was in this relationship with him, married
Okay.
him.
Okay.
So
I thought she had a
supposedly, and she
child
thought,
and he sort of like was
mm-mm.
sort of a stepfather kind of guy.
That was the girlfriend that he lived with while he was,
Oh, I see. Okay, got it.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
I could see if you didn't know about because he was handsome, and he was
and
educated,
charming, very
charming,
charming.
and he knew how to speak, he was
Yeah.
well spoken. And
Yeah.
so he could literally charm, the pants off of you, I guess, or at
Yeah.
least some women.
Yeah.
And but yeah, he was a real psycho. That ever.
That's the fascination, it's like someone that seems so normal and is living his life. He had a girlfriend, he was good to her and her daughter,
Mm,
to be so normal and then to have that little piece of you that is so twisted
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
demented that it's scary. And I think that is another fascination in the true crime,
Mm,
because do you really know the person you're living with? Do you
mm,
really know even children of these men that grow up and find out their dad was a murderer, or rapist, serial rapist, or
yeah.
whatever? No, that's your dad, and he was always good to you. So it's
Yeah,
very,
like
very.
this guy, Chris Watts, who was in Colorado. I was reading about Chris Watts, the one that
Oh,
killed his wife and two children, right? And then his girlfriend that he was having an affair with, she ended up, luckily, she seemed pretty, smart or not. She didn't get succumbed into the whole thing
Mhm.
because she like left him, right? She didn't stay with him. So, but he gets like all these letters in prison, I guess. And so,
Yeah, I followed that one a lot because it was just so horrific that they had this happy family, and he never gave any indication that he could kill her. And then he got obsessed with that girl, forget her name, that he worked with. Do you have her name?
I think her name was Nicole.
Nicole, yeah,
Yeah,
or Nikki,
Nicole.
yeah. He called her Nikki, I think. But yeah, and Shannon or whatever, Shannon, it looks like, but
Shannon.
was his wife. And they just seemed like they had this happy marriage, but then he had this affair with that girl, and I think he was driven by lust. He wanted out of the marriage. But you know what? You want out of your marriage, get a divorce.
Right,
Your
right.
kids, how could he kill the little girl, I think it was Cece, that looked so much like him. She looked just like him. I'm like, how could you do that to a child? Even if it was a child you didn't know, it was the ugliest child on earth. Like, how can you take a life like that?
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because I always have this theory that a lot of times men kill their ex-wives, girlfriends, what have you, the ones that leave them. And then anybody that's around, collateral damage, is with these people. Men do that a lot. And women often kill their children for some reason. And that's another podcast. I'd like to know why that happens.
Yeah.
But this is like an interesting, this guy would kill his kids. That doesn't seem to happen often,
Yeah, that's a mysterious one that I think that's why it got so much attention, because he was so good looking. They were such a beautiful family.
Mm-hmm.
They seemed so normal and happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and this goes on a lot. I mean, men, kill children and do horrible things to children. Then women, they get mental illness and kill their own children.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a mystery that to a normal person, that's why
Right.
it's interesting to us, because you just can't imagine how somebody could do those things. So
Yeah, and I think that's why serial killers have always been a fascination of mine, because you just wonder what's the psychology, what's something in their brain that causes
Right.
for them to do that again and again, and not have empathy. And
I saw an interview with Jeffrey Dahmer, and I think it was Jeffrey Dahmer, and he was revealing, he said, I wanted to know why too. He's like, I don't know. He couldn't explain why he was driven to kill. But it gave him some kind of satisfaction that he was driven to do that.
Right.
And I think he started with animals. He, as a kid, he would kill animals.
That's what they always say, that they always start with animals.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think, it must be something in their brain that, goes wrong at some point of their development.
Sure.
So,
but getting back to the women that
women that love killers.
Yeah, that are attracted to these guys, it's like, it's just sick, in my opinion,
Yeah. Well, another one that I discovered in my doing research on this was Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
Oh yeah, the Night Stalker.
And do you remember that? Because you lived in California, in that, in Orange County, but it was
barely.
in LA.
Was it LA? Yeah, I barely remember. I don't even know.
1984 to 85, and I moved to LA in 1986. So by then he'd already been caught. But
I barely. For some reason, I don't remember him that well. But I remember. I guess I read about it later, and that because he had a whole legion of women, I guess, that were like hot for him, huh?
And once he got, and found guilty and was put in jail, then he had tons of women after him, and he ended up marrying one. He ended up dying in prison of cancer.
He did? From what? Did someone get murdered?
Cancer.
I mean, huh? Oh, cancer.
But yeah, someone married him, and so
I do remember. I think I read about him at one point where he had like the most horrible childhood. It was like where he saw his uncle
kill his wife. His uncle killed his wife.
Yeah, and I was thinking, oh my God, this poor kid. No wonder he turned out so awful,
And he'd seen other horrible
father, I think his
violence,
father.
and grew up that way. Yeah, I do think, your childhood has so much to do with forming who you become. And just because you've been abused doesn't mean you're going to be an abuser, but for some people it does. For some people, that's, they learn that behavior. Just like, there are some cultures that are very violent. And I realized that, when I was bartending, and I would bartend with different groups, different nationalities and different groups. And some of them would be so aggressive and almost violent, in their behavior and the way they do things. And I thought about it, and a lot of times it's just, that's the culture. That's what they grew up with, seeing.
Sure.
So.
Oh, it's sick. But then, now the number one guy that attracted the most, wacky women, I guess you'd say, is Charlie Manson, right? And even till the end, he had this woman, I guess, that he didn't marry, but he was gonna marry her fiance. Her name was Afton Burton. She was like 26 or something. And he was going to marry her, but then he found out through the grapevine that she wanted to display his body after he was dead. And so that's why he didn't marry her. But I think she still did. I read somewhere that somehow, or someone did, his body's on display somewhere. Unless I'm wrong about that one.
Should be examined. Well, really anyone who's attracted to him and listen to him, because he's obviously nuts. Like, he's not some charming person.
Right.
but he's very intelligent.
Right.
And he, I guess, even look now, look at, in our politics and all of the conspiracy theories and, how easily people are tricked and
Right.
swayed.
That's true. That's true.
If you sound like you know what you're talking about.
And
So
I'm sure he preyed on, Charlie Manson in particular, probably preyed on women that were, came from a dysfunctional family.
yeah,
Maybe they were lost,
weak and
abused.
insecure is what
Yeah.
I would say. Those are the kind of women that are going to be attracted to these men.
Yeah.
Um, and
Because of, yeah. And then they get in that cult mentality, but he
mhm.
was just, gross looking, especially at the end when he was like in his 80s. And then he gets this kind of pretty 26-year-old girl.
Yeah, but look at, again, for another topic for another podcast, but look at all the people that join cults.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. That's so true.
we got to talk about that
Yeah,
another.
that's going to be one of our next ones. But yeah, so do we have anybody else on the list besides the Menendez?
No one else I can think of, because I don't really, it just creeps me out to watch that stuff. But I did watch, I followed the Chris Watts story a lot because it was so crazy.
Mm.
And then the Ted Bundy, when I watched those Ted Bundy tapes, and we've already all heard the story, we've seen him in the news, but listening to his voice on those tapes and watching the who was the guy that played him? He did a really good job. He was a young, good-looking guy, and he did a really good job. I can't remember who it was, but he
I
did
don't remember the actor.
very, very good in the movie. And it was just haunting. It's just haunting. And if anyone's watching this, we have a lot of women followers, women audience. You can't tell someone just to respect yourself. It's got to be, there's got to be some work done there. But really, think more of yourself, have higher standards, and don't settle for someone who's damaged and going to bring you down too, because it will influence you. You can't help but that influence you. What are you looking up?
I was looking up who played Ted Bundy in the movies.
Mhm.
And it says there's been a few of them actually.
Yeah, it was the Ted Bundy tapes, the recent one. Or I don't know if that was what it was called actually, but it was on Netflix.
It wasn't Mark Harmon. It wasn't Michael Riley Bork.
It was the most recent one. It was
Billy Campbell? Billy Campbell?
No,
No? Are you sure?
no,
Okay.
no, I can't.
Well, if anybody knows, write it in our comments.
Yeah, if anyone knows.
Anyway, what was the last thing you said about Ted Bundy?
Well, I was just saying to, anyone in our audience, don't settle. I mean, and I feel stupid saying that, because you can't tell someone who to love or who to feel for, and you can't tell someone not to be insecure, because it's work they have to do themselves.
Sure.
But if you find yourself attracted to someone like this, really do some introspection, because I've gotten into some bad relationships, and I gave it a lot of thought. I was like, I'm not going to do this again, and I need to figure out why. Why did I let myself get into this situation? And
yeah, I luckily I haven't been in that particular situation. I go for, controlling, successful, powerful men. And then I go, don't tell me what to do. But no, but
I've given them all a chance.
yeah, you're an equal opportunity.
Yeah.
But
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron. Oh yeah, he's a good actor. Thank you for looking that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good actor actually. Cute too.
And just so you know, the name of the movie is Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. And the reason for that title of the movie is because that's what the judge told him when he sentenced him. He said that that's what he was. But he's also said, I wish you luck. I mean, he saw the charm in him. He said, it's just it's sad that you wasted your life, because you could have done so much with your life. That's so
true, because out of all the ones that we've mentioned, except for maybe the Menendez brothers, but that he had the most, he had a good background. He had well, in the sense of he didn't come from poverty. He actually went to college, and I think he was going to be a lawyer, and so and good looking. I mean, he was charming.
He had all the gifts.
Exactly.
But again, I don't think it's something that he could control.
Obviously not.
Illness takes over. it's not something you can control. I'm not making excuses for it. We want to
Sure.
keep people like that off the street.
Right.
But I do think there are people who are mentally ill, who are a danger to society, and it's not their fault. It's
Right.
just something in
That's
their brain,
true.
but they do need to be incarcerated.
Yeah, and that's another podcast, mentally ill people, I mean, what's happening with them these days with the homeless and everything. But yeah, so we want to know, why do women fall for, I mean, do you know anybody that's like that? Have you ever been like that? That would be, I'd like to hear from people,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you could discuss it, but
Yeah, and personally, if you feel inclined to that, really question it. Do some personal introspection, and think about why you would want to be involved with someone like that.
right, a
Um,
killer,
yeah,
someone in jail, someone who's killed somebody,
yeah, because that's a person that's got issues. So, do you really want those kind of issues in your life?
right.
Deserve
Okay.
better.
We will see you next time.
Yeah, yeah. On that happy note,
We promise you we're going to have a good one
Yeah.
next time. It's going to be happier. It's going to probably be
Yeah.
about
We're
music.
gonna have hopefully a really good guest.
Yeah.
Kimbra's ex.
Oh God. The cat's out of the bag. All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.